Good morning, guys. What's going on? A couple of you hopped on to Luna's stream and came and said hi. I appreciate it. G-Man, Sasmit, what's going on? Good to see you, Sasmit. I know a lot of times you wait to come chat until after you've taken your personal trades. That's not a bad strategy. I can see where if you maybe feel like you're influenced and it like messes you up mentally, kind of just stay in your zone and not listen to outside influence until you're done. All right, so getting myself settled here. Oh, you got a soccer match today. Cool. We are coming down to a really high volume area from last night. There was lots of chop in that zone. That's actually the point of control from the overnight session. We're getting below VWAP, which is interesting. So if we break below this high volume node and we don't bounce here, then we could definitely come and grab some of this overnight liquidity. London low, possibly Asia low, which is right at yesterday's point of control. That would be kind of nice, honestly, if we got a pullback. But we could potentially bounce here because this is a good support area. Could be a little bit of a fake out below VWAP and then bounce right back up. So I'm prepared for that, but also want to be patient and don't want to long a falling knife right now. I should bring my account over here. I didn't share it on Luna's stream because he was chatting, but I did get in an opening range break trade because we were holding below VWAP. I didn't get in on this big candle because that would have been chasing it, but when it retested the opening range low and rejected again, I did get in. So 24.39 was my entry. I averaged in a little bit, so 24.39. There we go. So that was my entry. I was watching it here as it started to show weakness, so I got in a couple contracts when it was up here, and then once it broke below, I added to my position. So it looks like it's kind of bouncing off that point of control from last night, getting back above VWAP. It'll be interesting to see if we actually continue higher and that was the bottom, or if we're going to go back down. I scaled out a little bit at VWAP, and then I do have some runners that I'm actually holding until London low. My target is at 955. If you were on Luna's stream earlier, I was saying that I did have a loss last night. I took a short back here when the Asia session looked like it was opening up a little bit weak. I took a short as it broke back below value area high from yesterday, and then it came back up and wicked me out, which is annoying because it did come back down to my target, but whatever. So I'm coming back from red on this account. There you go. Shez, you're in a short from the top. Jez, what are you targeting? So here's my trade that I'm in. Trailing my stop right now. I'll probably bring it a little bit lower. It's holding this chop zone from last night. If it breaks below that, I definitely see it going lower to grab some of that overnight liquidity. But this, like I said, if it's gonna bounce, this is the spot. Chopping right around VWAP right here. Let's add a volume profile for the current session. See what we got setting up here. So right now, point of control is way up here. It's still early in the session, but we're holding below value area low. The remaining TP at 953. There you go. Similar to where I'm at, 955, targeting that London low area. It could definitely come back down to Asia low, but I don't want to be too greedy. There's also this wick. Actually, zooming out a little bit, this high volume area from overnight, right at like 945, that looks like a better TP spot. I might adjust that. All right, it's breaking below that chop zone. It just had to fight to get through it a little bit. Now it's getting heavier. Nice to hear a relaxed voice. Make you feel a little bit better about the anxiety that you have sitting in your trade. Is that why you're here, Shez? I could start a meditation channel. That was intense. That chop right there? No, that wasn't intense. So, a couple things. One is make sure your position sizing is appropriate. You need to be okay with, like, if it doesn't work out and I lose $200, I'm okay with that. That's within my risk strategy. But also, just kind of know that, like, that was a high volume chop area. Like this session volume profile right there, look at that node sticking out. It's not going to be easy to get past that level. It's going to have to work. Like, sellers are going to have to work to get it past that level. And now that it's moving below it, it's moving pretty quickly. So if it chops in that zone, you should be sitting fine. Just know that it's going to take some work to get through it. So zooming out definitely helps. But this low volume area right here, there is not much resistance to get through. That's why it's dumping right now. And it's going to come to this next level around like 23,970-ish. And that'll probably, I mean, it's hard to predict, but that'll probably be the next area where it kind of starts to chop around again if it's going to continue. Gotcha. Listening to Luna trades. Well, I just went on that whole rant and you weren't even talking about your trade. But whatever. That was good information. Alrighty. Let's trail my stop a little bit more. Now that we're below this chop zone, that should, I mean, I don't like to use the word should, but like in my strategy, the reason I'm going to trail my stop loss is because if it starts to get back above this resistance area, it's probably going to continue higher. And maybe this is just a fake out and it'll use this as support. So I don't want it to do that. For me to be in this trade and have it continue lower, I want this to start serving as resistance. Can you guys hear me now? For some reason my stream like turned off a little bit. Am I on? Am I good? All right, so it's coming back up to this chop area. Hopefully it ends up rejecting this area and continuing lower. If not, it'll stop me out, and that's all right, because I'll be in profit. I'm okay with that. Why I'm on the 1 minute. The 1 minute chart makes me anxious. Like, oh no! Oh no, we have a green candle! Come on. Reject that area. Go lower. Go lower. Someone on the 30-second chart? Oh, geez. I gotta see what this looks like. Imagine trading the 30-second chart at the New York Open. How many people would blow their account if they traded the 30-second chart at the New York Open? I would. I'll raise my hand on that one. Jeez. All right, I'm gonna get off the 30-second chart. I don't like it. All right, looks like it's holding this area. Grabbed some of that liquidity and now it's bouncing. It's not rejecting like I was hoping. So looking at this session volume profile from overnight, that's the value area high. We're kind of sitting at value area high right now. This is the spot where it should start going down if it's going to continue down. It's also below VWAP. Good spot to continue lower. That's why I adjusted my stop loss just slightly to give it a tiny bit more room. Because I don't want to get stopped out by like a tick and then have it continue. All right, let's look at that volume profile again. Really, if it gets back below like 23,990-ish, that's where that volume really sticks out. get below that level and hold, then we might be looking good. It's gonna make us sweat through this. If it's actually gonna continue lower, it's gonna make us work for it. I like the 5-minute chart a lot better than the whole 30-second idea. G-Man, you want to pull back, like you want it to go higher so that you can enter a short? Is that what you're looking for, as a short? Or you want it to pull back and then enter a long? What are you talking about? Pull back to be able to enter a short? Well, no, I don't want it to pull back that much because then it's going to hit my stop loss. That's not very nice. It can stay right here. It can just go ahead and pull back from here. All right, let's do that. I like that plan. But I'll be in profit. Now you're just being greedy, G-Man. Come on. That's messed up. Let's just flush it down to the overnight low, and then you can take a long off of that. Oh my gosh, go down. We got about 9 minutes until the initial balance is set, so we can see what kind of trades that gives us. There we go. Oh my gosh, imagine if it actually does continue down from here, and that was where my stop loss was. That was so close. That was 1.75 away. I don't know though. Kind of looks like it's wanting to hold here, but we shall see. Yeah, the 15-minute makes it look like it grabbed this liquidity and it's wanting to continue higher, but I don't know. Either way, I'm green. I'm good with it. Yeah, it does look like a good support level. Or if it's gonna break below that support, it's chopping around to like work through this level, but there was a lot of volume traded there. So kind of like I was saying before, this whole chop zone, if it's gonna continue lower, has some work to do. Nope, not a strong bounce. But sometimes, I mean, you've seen it before where like it'll consolidate like this and kind of trap people and then all of a sudden just like skyrocket in the other direction. But yeah, it's still holding below VWAP. Like, I still feel good about shorts. Those are wise words, Shez. It'll go one way or the other. She called it. It'll go one way or the other. All right, 945 is my target. Looking for this high volume area. I put it a little bit above it at 946. I kind of like to front run a little bit just in case. There we go. There she goes. All right, I'm gonna try my stop a little bit more. Just because, like I said, that was kind of the support level, and hopefully if it comes back up, that'll be resistance. Let's go. Bring it on down. I like that target because that's yesterday's value area high and then that high volume area from overnight. I'm gonna watch out for this London low though. Possibly take some profit there at 956 because it could bounce there. And then, I mean, if I want to be greedy, it could also come all the way down to Asia low. So, I don't know. Just trying to take my profits where I can. I'll take one at 956 in case it bounces there. And then I'll take one at 946, which is where that high volume area is. And then Asia low, 921. Let's see if it gets all the way down there. Man, I'm on the 15-minute chart. That's a nasty 15-minute candle. Woo! I'm so thankful for a pullback. You guys, I was coming into this session today, like, what the heck am I gonna do? Like, it was just a slow grind up, all-time high after all-time high after all-time high all night. Like, yesterday, and then last night, too. I was like, I don't know how to trade this. There's no pullbacks. What the heck? So, thank you, pullback. Now I actually have some levels to trade off of. All right, let's see. Where is it bouncing? It didn't quite come down to that London low. $111 orders at 875. That's even below yesterday's point of control. 875? That's yesterday's anchored VWAP from the New York session. Dang. That's a long way down. What I struggle with Bookmap, G-Man, maybe you can comment on this and like say how you handle it. But I always struggle with when I see orders like that. I'm like, oh, so maybe I should just hold my position all the way till 875. But just because the orders are down there, it doesn't mean it's going to happen now. Like it could happen 5 hours from now, and it could like bounce and stop me out and take all my profits. So that's what I struggle with. Is that's actually why I've kind of stopped looking at Bookmap, because it makes me adjust my targets, and then it doesn't ever hit 875 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, this thing is dumping. So I have my ultimate target down at Asia low at 922. And I'm happy with that if it hits there. Keep trailing my stop. This target right here is that high volume area, which it is bouncing a little bit right there. What made me go short? Well, let me go back to my trading view chart. I'll zoom into the 1 minute because that's kind of what I was looking at. So this point of control, or this session volume profile, wasn't actually there at the time, but now that we see the point of control up there, it looks even better. It broke above New York anchored VWAP, but there wasn't any continuation. It kind of looked a little bit like weak. So I did enter a couple of contracts here, just kind of as a feeler position, and had my stop loss up above range high, thinking that it could retest range high and go a little bit higher. So I entered a small position right around here, and then once it broke below VWAP pretty heavily, I added to my position. So I actually got in early. It could have also been a great trade if you saw the 15-minute opening range breakout, it retested the range low, and then you could have shorted there. So that probably would have been the safer trade in hindsight. I got in a little bit early and kind of got lucky that it worked out, because it also could have just been to the moon and gone to another all-time high like it has been the last 24 hours. And then really I've just been trailing my profits at that point since then. Since it got pretty heavy, I have been moving my target a little bit lower and trailing out. I originally was targeting 24,000. That was my initial target, just because that was where the support was from last night. But when it started dumping, I just took out like 1 or 2 at 24,000, and then you've been watching me since then. I took some out at London high or London low. I should have just hit my TP at value area low, and then my final target down here. Shez, be careful with adding to your winners. It's definitely powerful. Like if you learn how to do it, it's very powerful. I was in this position originally with 10 contracts, which is way more than I normally do. But I was able to do it with 0 risk. So when I added, I had a clear spot to lower my stop loss so that I still only was risking about $150 in that trade. So don't add to your position if you don't have a clear spot to adjust your stop loss to. I really only try to do it if it's like come down enough and then it retraces and then rejects again, like if it's going to continue the trend and I can move my stop loss and have zero risk, or have my stop loss still be in profit when I'm adding, that's the best way to do it. That way you don't have to risk losing money. All right, so we're holding below that London low. We're breaking below yesterday's high, which a lot of times that can serve as resistance or support. So like if we hold below previous day high, this thing could be continuing quite a bit lower. This is interesting. This is a decent spot for a bounce if it's going to. Quite a bit of volume right here from last night. Only add on pullbacks, G-Man. Which I tell you that, and then this trade that I just took here, I entered as it was dumping with that big red candle. But at that point, I moved my stop loss. So originally my stop loss was at the range high, the 15-minute opening range high. And then when I added, I moved it down to this wick high. So I had a clear spot to adjust my stop loss. So ideally, I like to add if there's a pullback and then it starts to like reject. That way you can move your stop loss to that new high or low, depending on if you're longing or shorting. Well, I wonder if it's gonna bounce here. Trying to figure out where I want to put my stop loss. I don't want to let it bounce too high, but I want to give it a little bit of room because I know this is a good spot where it probably will bounce. But I don't want to give up too much of my profits in case it does decide to move lower. I love adding so much. I add to my losers. Oh no, don't do that. Averaging down, I feel like, is one of those rules that most traders agree on. Like there's a lot of rules out there, like you have to have a stop loss and you have to focus on risk to reward and like all those kind of things that we're like, yeah, of course. There's always some exception, like some 7-figure trader that doesn't use a stop loss. So there's exceptions. But I feel like adding to losers is one thing that a lot of people agree on. Unless you're like swing trading, or it's like a long-term spot hold for some stock that you're going to be holding until retirement or for the next 5 years or whatever, like that's different. Averaging down with that is different. But with day trading, that's scary. Marcus, hello. Good afternoon to you. Or good evening. I don't remember what time it is there. Going well. Sitting in this position, kind of debating where I should trail my stop loss to, because it's getting a little bit of a bounce at this high volume area. All right, so we do have the initial balance set. Initial balance low is right here. So it technically did break below IB low and got a bounce. So I hope it's not setting up for a failed auction. I think I'm gonna go ahead and trail my stop down to this high at 969, just in case it does decide to move higher. Because that is a possible failed auction setting up. Oh, G-Man, I just read your comment. Wednesday is the day of the week where PA loves to double break IB. Well, maybe this is going to be a little failed auction setup then. Or a better setup, come down, grab this Asia low, and then go to the moon. That would be a better failed auction. Hit my TP, and then I can move to my other account and enter a long on that failed auction. Let's do that. Marcus is long on ES. Am I done for the day after hitting my TP? No, I have one other account that I'll switch to if we get another setup. We still got time. It's still early in the day. We still have some decent volume and movement. Well, yeah, that makes sense if there's normally news on Wednesdays. That news release could be right at 10:30 Eastern, and then all of a sudden it goes to the other end of the initial balance. We don't have that today, though. It's definitely chopping around this area. We have the initial balance, which, I mean, that typically just provides support anyway. Value area high from yesterday. So lots of volume from yesterday. And then last night, lots of volume. So, I mean, if it's going to bounce, this could be the spot. Looks like it might. Yep. Chopping around last night's area. That's why there's so much volume here, you can see. It's coming up from my stop loss. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a failed auction, you guys. I'm actually thinking about entering along on my other account. Do I mark the IB high manually or use an indicator? I mark it manually. There's definitely indicators that do the work for you. I don't know why I do it on my own. One is probably because I don't trust the indicators. Like a lot of times you have to go in and change the settings because it might be like a different time zone or whatever. But also it kind of gives my fingers something to do so that I don't have to, I'm not going to be rushing into a trade immediately. Well, it kind of looked like it was going to hold that level. Looking at the 5 minute, there's some good wicks on the bottom side of these candles. Mama tick though, if you do want to use an indicator, there's lots of options out there. I have one on my screen, I just don't normally turn it on. But the initial balance indicator right here, it's from Drysdale Trading. He has the extensions on it, so like if you're taking an IB breakout trade, he has the extensions for where it'll likely hit. That's a good one. But yeah, there's lots of them out there. Coming back down to IB low. Let's see if this is going to be a breakout trend continuation or if it's trying to fake us out again. All right. Coming for that overnight liquidity, 920. Too bad it stopped me out. I put my stop loss right here at 969 above that wick because I was worried about it turning into a failed auction and going higher. Just barely stopped me out by like 4 points. $4. That's all right. I'm happy with that. $500 on all 3 accounts. I'll take it. So broke out below initial balance, coming up to retest it a little bit. Let's see if it rejects here. If it rejects, and this is going to be a trend continuation, these levels down here at 920 to 910-ish is a decent spot for a retracement. Getting a pretty good bounce here though. Getting back within the initial balance low. I know I'm zoomed in on the 2 minute, so it doesn't hold a whole lot of weight, but that was a pretty bullish candle. It reversed that last drop pretty strong. Even if we are eventually going to go lower, we could bounce up to this VWAP area around 24,000, which would actually make a lot of sense. That's where VWAP is, and that's also where that high volume area point of control was from last night, right at 24K. So possible bounce to there and then rejection with further downside, but just kind of playing out scenarios. Definitely chopping around this initial balance low area, trying to decide if it wants to hold it or break below. All right, Be Frosty, have a good one. BM, I saw your comment that you got in at 393. I was like, what is he trading? Is that like a gold number or what? Okay, 939. Gotcha. That's a good entry. Very nice. Stop loss at 945. That's tight. This is definitely an interesting spot. There's liquidity right below, so it could come grab it real quick before bouncing. But this is a good spot to hold for a bounce. I like the idea of holding here and coming back up to VWAP for a possible move lower at that point. 23,992, 24,000-ish. Lots of confluence for that level. It's looking like it wants to hold. Yeah, looking at the 5-minute chart, there's lots of wicks. Looking good. Shez, you're gonna wait and see if we get a decent bounce for another short. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm seeing right here. It's gonna hold, initial balance low, bounce back up to 24K or just below, and then come back to that Asia low. Not trying to predict anything, but that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. All right, I'm long from 9:59 in my other account. I'll pull it over here in just a second. And targeting this general area, I don't want it to go below initial balance low. I'd like to see this start continuing up. Come on, let's get some continuation here. Maybe a little short squeeze. Oh, come on. So choppy right now. Indecisive. Doesn't know what it wants to do. Here we go. Come on. Getting a little move higher. Come on. You know you wanna. Let's go, let's go. The current session volume profile kind of starting to create a little high volume node here. If it gets back above like 23,970-ish and like holds there, it could move straight back up to 24K. It's just stuck here right now. There's got to be a chance of like a short squeeze coming, right? Because that was a pretty heavy drop at market open. And you know there's a bunch of people short right now expecting it to go lower. Oh, G-Man, you're taking a gold trade during the New York session. I don't know if I've seen that from you. That's a decent sign, though. A lot of times gold and NQ are somewhat opposing. So if gold's dropping, then NQ is going to go up, right? What's gold doing? Gold has been choppy. What is all of that? This whole range right here, that's ugly. Oh man. It is not going anywhere. Is this just consolidating for a bigger move? Or is volume done for the day? G-Man, have you been keeping an eye on the gold initial balance? I looked back at it briefly for like the last month or so. And I looked at like initial balance trades off of the gold initial balance were about the same as NQ. Looked like that could be a decent strategy that would copy over. Yeah. So just initial balance in general, but the fact that the gold initial balance is different. It's from 8:20 Eastern to 9:20 Eastern. I don't like how this is chopping around so much. And the fact that there's no continuation higher. It's holding that level, which is right at initial balance, so there's a chance that it'll get defended. But the fact that it's not, like there's no continuation behind it, it's making me not feel great about the trade. No. All right, stopped out. All right. Well, at this point, I'm going to wait for it to either come back down to that Asia low or like point of control area. or come back up to VWAP and see if we get a rejection from there. But I don't like this. There she goes. That was the initial target I was holding for. Just stopped me out my trailing stop loss on my other account. Getting heavy. Let's see how it reacts at this Asia level. Coming on down. It'll be interesting to see if it actually does bounce and gain some strength at these lows. Or if we're going to retrace a large part of the move from yesterday. Because there were like no pullbacks yesterday. After that initial press conference or whatever it was with Trump, he made it go down a little bit, but that was it. So yeah, I'm gonna watch and see how it reacts at these lows. But yesterday's VWAP at 875 or 879 is a possibility. Or I mean, if you look at the higher time frames, there's tons of fair value gaps that could be filled. If this is gonna be a pullback kind of day, all right, coming down to Asia low right now. This is super choppy, all over the place price action, you guys. It's not having like clear, clean reactions at levels. Like if you zoom out to, the 15 minute, those are good candles. So I guess the trick today is just to zoom out, size down, and zoom out. But it's very wicky on the 5 minute. It's not really showing signs of grabbing that Asia low and bouncing. Kind of looks like it wants to continue down, you guys. We're coming down to yesterday's point of control, which has lots of chop in this area. But we also had that huge move up yesterday with no pullbacks. So I could be retracing some of that. This is definitely not the kind of liquidity grab bounce that I typically look for. Still looking heavy. Hindsight's always 2020, right, G-Man? Like, oh man, that ended up being a good trade. I should have sized up on it. Or like me on this trade where I got stopped out and then it continued to my target. I could have been like, oh, I should have had a looser stop loss. Oh well. Because the reverse totally could have happened, right, G-Man? Like, oh, that was a bad trade. I sized up too much and took a big loss. All right, it came down to point of control, and it's bouncing. Let's see if this bounce holds. Grabbed Asia low, bounced at point of control. Doesn't look like the bounce is gonna hold though. My goodness. All right. Next possible support would be yesterday's anchored VWAP at 23,880. This is quite a move, you guys. Shez, you were talking about waiting for a pullback to enter short. Might be waiting a while for that one. Still chopping around this point of control a little bit. It still could hold, it's possible. Interesting spot right here. Yeah, that was my thought too, G-Man, is if this point of control doesn't hold, then yesterday's anchored VWAP could be the next spot. It's hard to imagine that this point of control would be very much support though, because this right here, if I zoom out, this is the extent of that volume. So it didn't look like it was having to work that hard to get through it. Man. Trailed my stop loss too tight. Yeah, the blue line is anchored at yesterday's open. So that's kind of the next level I'm watching. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know. It could just retrace the entire move from yesterday. There's a long way down if these levels are not going to hold as support. Which, I mean, it kind of makes sense. There was not a ton of volume that's like holding those levels. This is the best bounce we've gotten so far all day. Yeah, 875, which is right around where that anchored VWAP is. It's sitting at 881 right now. So that is possible. Starting to reject that point of control area. Interesting spot for a bounce if this is where it goes. That's a big buy up though. Looks like some shorts might be getting squeezed at this point. So, interesting spot right here. If this bounce continues and we come back up to value area high, it's also right at IB low. So 946-ish would be a decent spot to possibly take a short off of. Let's see if this bounce continues. That's kind of what I'm looking for. There's some decent confluence for that level right there. And if we don't get a rejection exactly there, point of control is right above that at 957. So those are two decent spots. Solid bounce right here. All right, I'm gonna see how it reacts right here. $9.46 and then also $9.59. So we have initial balance low and point of control. Sitting at that level right now, but I wanna watch for a rejection first. Because if this buy-up continues, we could also come all the way back to VWAP. So I'm not going to be quick to short this right now. This is pretty strong. Looking at the 5-minute chart, that was a big buy-up. Yep, glad I didn't take a short right at that level. And that's why in my strategy, personally, I wait for reactions at levels. Like, we're starting to get a little bit of selling there, but that whole move up was pretty strong. Tell me what you're thinking, chat. What are you doing? You taking any trades off this? You seeing any levels? Anything you're watching? Tell me what's good. You think it's going to head back to IB low? It's at IB low right now. That's kind of why I have that red circle area. I was watching it because it's also yesterday's value area high and previous day high. So that's a decent spot for it to pull back. I haven't taken a short yet though, because point of control is up above at 958. And then with this strong move, I mean, if that's going to continue, it could definitely come up to VWAP too. And we're not seeing a ton of selling pressure right here. So I'm not sold on a short yet. I think higher. That's my thought. Trailing your stop, stop in profit. Good job on that short. Need to get myself like 6 different screens so I can be watching gold and ES and all the things. All right, you guys, I am short from 939.25. I was watching that level, staying patient because I wasn't sure if it was going to buy right through it. But I did take a small position. I'm just going to put my wick or my stop loss right above that wick. So I'll move this red dot so you can see it better. So 939.25, still within my risk of no more than $200 per trade. So I was able to size up a little bit, and then I'm just going to target not even the full amount. I'm just going to go to 900. I'll take 2 off there. I'm just not convinced it's going to continue going, so I trailed out a little bit. That's looking pretty heavy though. It could be going for those orders at 875 now. I'll move my stop loss to break even. The reason I'm a little bit nervous about, like, I took some profits off. Oops, wrong account. Took some profits off and not targeting the full wick below is because we reclaimed yesterday's point of control. We grabbed all this liquidity from over here and we reclaimed it, and we had a pretty strong bounce. So this thing could definitely continue lower. This has been a pretty heavy drop, but I want to protect my profits and just take what the market's going to give me at this point. I'm not 100% convinced that it's going to go lower from here. So that's why I'm being a little bit more careful with this strategy today, or on this trade. If you guys haven't already, go hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. I know I got a little bit of a late start today, so didn't have quite as many people join, but that's all right. We've taken a couple good trades so far. Green in each of the accounts that I've traded. I did take a loss last night in one of my accounts, so I'll finish the day red in one account, but green in the others. My funded account that I'm working towards a payout on, I'm up 542, and I'll be done for the day on that one. I'm actually going to go ahead and lock it out so that I don't give back any of those profits, because I'm almost to a payout and I don't want to mess it up. I know myself mentally. I start to like see the finish line and screw it up. So locking that one out. And then this one looks like it's coming back to my trailing stop loss, so I'll be up about $500 in this one. So the account that I'm almost to a payout on is Top One Futures. So in that one, I have the 50K account. The max you can take out per account is 2,500. So I'm trading to 4,500. That way I have a $2,000 buffer. Because my goal is to hold the accounts long term. Like, I'm not just trying to take the max payout and then have to start over with new accounts. I would like to like get multiple payouts from it. So I'm going to leave myself a $2,000 buffer. Yep, that's why I was aggressive with taking some profits and trailing my stop loss, you guys. It held that point of control from yesterday, and it's looking like it's going to bounce. So I'm glad that I managed it that way. All right, you guys. At this point, I think I might call it on the stream. Not seeing a whole lot of trades that I would want to take right now. What I'd be watching for is if it comes back up to VWAP, I'd be interested in a possible short from there. But I say possible because it depends on how it's reacting. At that point, if it does get back to VWAP, it would have reclaimed initial balance low, and there's a chance that it could go higher. So that's kind of what I'm watching. But like I said, if you haven't already, hit that like button. And then if you also haven't, join our Discord group. Because if I take any more trades today, I'll let you guys know in there. All right, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.